As I mentioned, Jeremy was a recent guest of the podcast. He's graciously agreed to jump on the live today. He is a sales expert and the founder of Seventh Level, ranked the #1 fastest growing sales training company in the US for 2 years running. He's recognized as one of the highest earning sales professionals globally. Jeremy's innovative approach, this is really interesting, we're going to get into this, blends behavioral science and human psychology, propelling over 500,000 salespeople in 161 industries to 3x, 5x, 10x their sales results. He's also a contributor to Inc. magazine and has been featured in Forbes, USA Today, and Entrepreneur. Jeremy is also the co-author of the book, The New Model of Selling to an Unsellable Generation. Jeremy, welcome to the Greater Property Group Mastermind this week.
Thank you very much. That was very, very kind. My kids say I'm pretty boring, so thanks for the compliment there.
No, anything but boring. And I think your team actually sent it over, so shout out to them. Good to see you again. I really wanted to get you on this live because many of the attendees here and the people on the call, they're in the real estate industry, as I was mentioning. They're sales professionals in the real estate industry. And a lot of what we talked about on the podcast applies to this industry specifically. And for those who aren't aware of who you are, what you do, it'd be great to get just a little context before we get into the meat of it. Because as I was saying, your approach and your methodology are unconventional. They're not typical, but really, really interesting. And I think that's why you're blowing up so much, is because of your approach to sales. So let's get into it. The first question, Jeremy, just to kind of set the stage. What is your background? Where did your career in sales and entrepreneurship start? And then what inspired you to get involved in sales training?
So my background is behavioral science and human psychology. I specialize in social dynamics. In a sense, a bunch of nerdy, boring stuff, but that's what I went to university for. So like, I think I went over a little bit of this on your podcast, David. So I got my first sales job, 21 years old, college, going to school at Utah Valley University. And basically it was door to door. Who on here has ever sold door to door? Just so I know who my people are. Okay, that's where it all started for me, okay? And so basically the company gives you a script. They give you a couple books by the sales gurus, and they basically drive you out in a van, and they just kind of they kick you out of the van, and they basically say, hey, go make some sales. It's going to be easy. We'll pick you up after dark, right? Some of you know what I'm talking about. And so I still remember actually looking back at my sales manager, and his name was X, and he had the surfer blonde hair. And he's like, remember when you knock on the doors, show them how excited you are about the product, show them that you believe in the product and they're going to believe in it. Show your enthusiasm. So I'm like, well, what do I know? That makes complete sense. Right. So I started knocking on doors. I was really excited, started talking about my features and benefits and how we had the #1 this and the #1 that and AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau and blah, 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 blah. And I started noticing from my very first doors that I was getting all these objections. We don't need it. We can't afford it. We already talked with someone from your company. I need to talk to my spouse. I need to do more research. I need to think it over. Can you call me back a week, a month, a year later? And basically after about 8 to 9 weeks of nonstop rejection, barely making any sales, I got to a point where I was like, maybe selling, maybe just selling wasn't for me. I wasn't a born salesperson like everybody else. And at the same time, I'll give you an abbreviated version. I'm going to school, right? Behavioral science, which I'm not going to give you all the nerdy lingo on it, but it's really, if I peel back the layers, it's a study of the brain and how human beings make decisions. Okay. What causes someone to say no compared to saying yes? Okay. Everybody's heard that when somebody makes a buying decision, it's emotional, right? Everybody makes buying decisions emotionally, and they justify with logic. Now, does anybody know how to get that to happen though? Those are two different stories, right? And so while I'm going to school, I'm learning from my behavioral, my professors, that the most persuasive way to communicate is over here. But the sales gurus in their training programs that I was going through, they were basically saying it was more over here. So we're talking about exact opposite, ways of thinking here. So I'm like, how do I take how the brain works? How do I how do I learn the right questions to ask? How do I learn how to use my body language? How do I learn how to use my tonality, okay, to get my prospects to do all the work rather than me do all the work, okay? How do I get my prospects to sell themselves rather than me try to sell and chase them? How do I get my prospects to overcome their own concerns rather than me trying to overcome their objections? And how do I get my prospects to pull me in rather than me pushing and pressuring? Okay. Because after all, who has the problem? You or the prospect? The prospects. Okay. Prospects have many problems, right? So why are we qualifying to the prospects and try to chase and convince them when we're not the ones that have the problems? They do. Now, who has a solution to solve those problems? You do. Okay. Now that's a nice tagline, but if we don't acquire the right questions, the right tonality, and those type of things, that's just all mumbo jumbo, right? Makes sense, but we have to learn the skills around it. So, when I started developing those skills, selling became, well, very, very easy and exceptionally profitable very quickly, and went on to do #1 salesperson for, it's like Heisman Trophy days now. I'm bragging about myself. #1 salesperson in 4 completely different industries, retired in 2017, and then started 7-Level in 2018. Here we are.
Super interesting background, and haven't looked back since, Jeremy. But here's what's interesting. So before we get to the tactical stuff, we had a fascinating discussion about why there's no such thing as a natural born salesperson. I love your take on this. There's no such thing as a natural born salesperson. Yeah. And then the other part of it is why sales is not a numbers game. So the two are kind of tied together, right?
So I'll share with you a few things that probably are unconventional, because real estate is actually the second largest industry we train in the world. So we train 161 different industries, real estate, including residential, commercial, and investors calling distressed properties, second largest industry we train. So I know your industry fairly well, actually. And so when I say no one is born a natural born salesperson, I mean, it sounds really cool and cliche to be like, oh, they're a natural born salesperson. They could sell anything to anybody. I just want you guys to prove that to me. Like, what blood type shows that you're a natural born salesperson? Is it the O, is it the A type blood type, or the O positive? Or like, what about the DNAs? Any scientific articles came out on your DNA shows that you're a natural born salesperson? Anybody prove that to me? I'm a scientist. This way I think. Like, if you guys can show me evidence that people are natural born salesperson, I will believe you. Unfortunately, there is no evidence. There's no studies on this at all. It's just sales trainers saying it. Okay. See, the fact is, we all know, right? Nobody is born with those skills. Those are skills you have to learn. Those are skills that you acquire. Okay. So if I acquired them, a kid who grew up on a cattle ranch outside of a town in the middle of Missouri with less than 800 people can acquire those skills. What does it mean for each of you? It means you can acquire those same skills. You can do 2, 3, 5 times what you are now, even if you're already doing well. Just like one of our clients there, you showed Ryan Serhatz, one of our clients. Okay, we love Ryan. He's a great guy. Been working with his group for about 2.5, 3 years now. So yeah, so that's where we talk about nobody is born a natural born closer. That is a cliche. It's a salesman. There's so many salesmen out there. So I'd rather not buy into something that's not really reality, right? If I know that I can acquire a much higher level of skill level than I'm at now, that's probably going to help me, right? Now, you're talking about sales. What did you say about sales as a numbers game? What did you say?
Yeah, we had a discussion about why sales is not a numbers game.
Well, it can be. It can be if you want it to be. I cut you off, David. I apologize.
No, it's good. Because your illustration is amazing, right? We used a basketball illustration, right?
Yeah. Well, it can be, right? See, every sales book you've ever read, okay, says 3 things. Sales is a numbers game, ABCs of closing, and you have to be a problem solver. I could break down each one of those, okay? So sales can be a numbers game if you want it to, okay? But I would rather focus on selling be a skills game. Now, let's take a look at one of your favorite players. It doesn't matter. Mine's Steph Curry, 3-point champ. Everybody, some of you know him, okay? Now, imagine if Steph Curry said, yeah, basketball is a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Just shoot it as many times as you can. Eventually, you'll make one. Had Steph had that mindset, he would have never made his high school basketball team. See, Steph Curry knows that basketball is a skills game. It's a skills game. So he's focused every day on what? Developing his skill, right? Did he practice one time a long time ago? And now he's just got all these skills? No, he's focused on his technique every day, right? His elbow, where's his wrist is, okay? His dribbling, his hips. See, he knows that basketball is a skills game, and that's why he hits almost 50% of every three-pointer he shoots, like 47%, okay? Mm-hmm. Imagine if you as a salesperson thought in your mind, you know what? Selling is a skills game. Rather than just going through a bunch of numbers, waiting for that 1 out of 20 people I talk to or whatever you're doing, I'd rather be able to get a listing off, let's say 2 out of every 3 or 3 out of every 4 rather than 2 out of every 10. Now, how do I do that? I have to develop a much higher level of skill ability than I have now. That means I have to learn much better questions to ask than I have right now to get my prospect to do what? Internalize and think deeper about what I'm asking rather than giving me a what? Surface level answer. I have to learn how to get my tone and how to use it in different contexts to get the prospect to emotionally open up and go below the surface. I have to learn how to use my body language to trigger trust in their mind rather than just viewing me as just another salesperson trying to sell me something, right? So when I develop those skills, selling becomes what? Less and less and less than a numbers game. Now it's more of a skills game. So every conversation I'm in, I'm now focused on the skill rather than just going through the motions, saying a few lines, asking a couple of questions, and then going in for the kill in your case, trying to get the listing or something like that. So I'm more focused on the skills game. When you focus on the skills game, numbers game goes way, way down. You get a lot more listings in your case. You make a lot more sales. Most importantly, you help a lot more people than you are right now. That's the difference between numbers game, skills game.
It all makes sense now. It all makes sense. So we've set the stage, right? We've laid the foundation of why skills are so important. So I want to get into the specific methodologies.
I have a question for everybody.
Okay, go.
How many years have you guys gone to sales and persuasion school? How many years did you guys go to sales and persuasion school? You type it in the chat. Like how many years you went to sales and persuasion school?
0.
Oh, that could be a problem, right?
Yeah.
See, selling is really the only profession where I can say, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm in sales. Oh, how many years did you go to school for sales? Oh, 0. Like, could you imagine if a neurosurgeon said, oh, I didn't go to school to do brain surgery. I just tried to figure it out once I got hired. Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't go to law school. I just kind of tried to figure it out once I got in front of the judge. Oh, engineer, I didn't go to really school. I just tried to figure out while I was trying to build the bridge. Police officer, I didn't really go through any formal training. I just kind of figured it out. Military, I didn't really go through any formal training. They just dropped me off in the middle of the desert with a rifle. Like, what profession can say they didn't go through and get educated about the craft before they actually started? Now, getting a real estate license, does that really teach you how to communicate and get the prospect to sell themselves and pull you in? Not that I'm aware of, right? So how many years have you dedicated to actually acquiring that skill? We actually have the skill level where it doesn't really matter. We're not hoping and praying on some outside factor that we have 0 control in. When I have the skill level, it doesn't matter what happens outside. I still control everything because I have the skill level to do that. David, go ahead.
No, it makes perfect sense. And we're going to put a bow on it at the end, talking about the importance of training and coaching. And, you took the words out of my mouth. It is really, really important. When you go to real estate school, they don't teach you how to close, convert, and actually make money, right? They don't teach you that. They teach you the rules and regulations. The specific methodology of what you teach and what 7th level teaches, makes the job easier, like you said, helping them come to their own conclusion. So you touched on a few of these, and I want to get into some specifics, some tactical stuff, like the importance of tone and the verbal pause. I mean, we talked about this on the show, but the way you break this down is so fascinating, right? The importance of tone, verbal pauses, the importance of gestures, specific methodology, anything you can run through with us that will help us. Yeah.
Well, has anybody ever read a sales book, where it says 93% of communication is by your nonverbal communication, your tonality and body language? Okay.
Mhm.
Has anybody gone through advanced training on how to actually do that? No, because there is none. It's not really taught in sales training at all, hardly at all. I had to learn it by going to acting school. My second year in college, my second year in sales, I'm like, I kept reading all these books, said tonality, you got to learn tonality, you got to learn body language. But I'm like, well, where? I bought everything I could, went to every seminar. Nobody really knew what it was. They all just all said it. You had to learn it. So I had to go to acting school and be trained how to do this. You mean to show? You pull up a few things here on this vibe board.
Yes, go for it. This is the best.
All right. So so there are five types of tonalities that you're going to have to master if you want to elevate your career. Okay. We've trained people in your profession that were like literally about to quit because they couldn't sell anything, that are now making, well over 7 figures a year in commissions a year or two later, very, very quickly. I'm talking like they were at the bottom, couldn't do anything. And now they're like the top producer in their city. Okay. And some even higher, way higher than that. Okay. So there are 5 types of tone. All right. Now, salespeople always come to us and they're like, hey, I gotta get better at selling. I gotta get better at closing. I gotta get better at objection handling. I'm like, well, you can, but you get better at this, you're going to close it a lot more. You get better at this, you're going to prevent most of the objections that you currently lose deals from. I mean, it's all a downstream issue. Why do objections even happen in your prospect's brain? Does anybody know what causes a human being to object to what you're offering to them? Do you know what it is? It's uncertainty. Uncertainty. Write that down. This is important to you. Okay. Uncertainty. Now, what triggers uncertainty? Does the prospect trigger uncertainty, or is it us that triggers uncertainty? Is it the questions we're using now? Is it what we're saying doesn't really cause the prospect to internalize and think deeper about what's going on? Okay, I'll just show you a few things. So there's 5 types of tonality. The first one and this is probably one of the easiest to master, is a curious tone. Can you guys see that right there? Curious tone. Okay. So a curious tone is just, you're just curious. So what would be, David, give me a question that would like kind of a question to find out about their current situation that you guys might use. And I'll just use a curious tone.
Are you looking to stay in the area or move out of the area?
So are you guys looking to stay in the area or possibly move out? That's just a curious tone. That should be very easy for us to understand. Now, write this down as well. Your tone is how your prospect interprets the intention behind every question you ask. Your tone is how the prospect interprets why you're even asking the question in the first place. What's behind it? It's all based on your vocal cords and your tonality and your facial expressions. Your facial expressions, the first thing they train you in acting school, your facial expressions are the remote control to your tone. Try having a confused tone and don't move your face. It just doesn't work that well. Okay, so your facial expressions are the remote control to your tonality. Okay, so the second type of tone I need to master is a confused tone. You're like, well, Jeremy, what do you mean? I can't show them I'm confused. That doesn't mean you're confused about the house or anything you're talking about. But in certain contexts, I can cause a human being to emotionally open up and expand on their pain. So, David, give me an example. Maybe a prospect might say like an emotional word, like I'm just aggravated that it didn't sell last time with that last agent, or I'm just frustrated that we couldn't get the price we wanted, or, I feel like I'm just stressed that, whatever. So I can take a word like stress, frustrated, annoyed, concerned, pressure, tension, worry, right? Any emotional word. So David, just tell me something that has to, and say you're stressed about something within your industry.
I'm stressed that no one communicated the process with me.
Stressed?
Stressed.
Yeah. Stressed.
Yeah.
So anytime you get an emotional word, you can quite literally just repeat back the word. Frustrated? Stressed? Now look at my face. That's a confused face. Like I'm confused, right? I'm not saying I'm confused, but my tone is confused. Hold on. Stress? Oh, how do you mean by stress? Now, do you know what happens in their brain at that point? Do you know what happens in your brain? Your subconscious quickly says, oh, he didn't understand what I meant by stress. I need to expand on that. Now, we always talk about human beings make buying decisions on emotion, not logic. Do any of you ask questions right now? And you notice a lot of your prospects, when you ask questions, give you vague, generalized, surface level answers. Type in me if you notice that. Only a couple of you. All of you are perfect. Wow, you guys, I'm loving this, man. You guys are the best real estate group ever. So that is because of our tone causes the prospect to stay surface level with us, right? You do the same thing when salespeople ask you questions sometimes, right? You know why they're asking the questions. So you're like, oh yeah, I'm just kind of looking, right? Your guard goes up. So you stay surface level. And how many of those deals that stay surface level with you do you get? Not that many. Okay. Numbers game. Okay. How do I get them to expand on their pain? Little things like that. Oh, hold on. How do you mean by stress? Well, what I mean, and then they start explaining. When they start explaining that, they what? They expand on their pain. Okay. You ever heard no pain, no sale? That sounds cool, but you're like, well, how do I get them to feel pain? Right? Because they're not opening up to me. Little thing that, oh, hold on. How do you mean by frustrated? I mean, the realtor you had last time, I mean, they're fairly decent. I mean, what caused you to feel like you might want to list with somebody else? Okay. Tone right there. Okay. Skepticism. Okay. So that confused tone triggers the brain. Oh, he didn't understand me. She didn't understand me. I need to explain that better. That's when your prospects emotionally start to open up. What are the two biggest drivers, emotional drivers, that cause a human being to want to change? Can anybody tell me in the chats, what are the two biggest emotional drivers that causes a human being to want to change? Pain and the fear of future pain. If we cannot help our prospects relive their pain of their situation and have a fear of future pain, they don't feel any need to change. And when your prospects do not feel the need to change, that's why you get so many objections, and that's why they don't buy from you. In your case, list with you. Okay, does that make sense? So that's just one example of how to use a confused tone. If I'm cold calling, I'm even going to use a confused tone, which is going to go against everything you guys have ever been taught. Okay? You guys have been taught, I got to sound 100% like the expert. I got to talk as fast as I can to try to get as much information out real quick. And I hope and pray that something I'm going to say is going to cause them to want to listen to me. Would I be right? Hi, is this John? Yeah, John. Hey, it's Jeremy Miner with ABC Realty. Listen, I saw that you had your home listed about 6 months ago and you took it off. And I was hoping that we could possibly talk about selling the home, blah, 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 blah. Now, how many other cold calls does that prospect get where somebody selling anything says, hi, my name is, I'm with XYZ company, and the reason why I called you is, your prospect doesn't hear a word after that. Do you know why? Because you sound like everybody else. Now, that's not your fault. You might have been trained that way, but it is our what? It is our problem. Nobody's coming to save us unless we learn that skill. So that's an example of your tone sounding like an expert, trying to throw everything out, and you sound like every other salesperson's ever talked to them. And where does society in general view salespeople? At a high status or more low status? Low status. So you instantly go, in their mind, at a lower status. Oh, salesperson trying to sell me something. Guard goes up. Not interested. See, who's triggering that? The prospect or us? Us, with their tone. They're not even listening to us. Okay, I'll show you some cold calling tonalities here in a second. So I might even do this. So we train this all the time. Okay, let's say, do any of you call like expired listings?
Yes,
okay.
They do.
Okay, so we do this a lot with real estate agents like you guys. We also do this a lot with like investors calling distressed properties. We train a lot in that field. So we actually have them print off property tax records. I know you guys are thinking I'm crazy, but if you want to learn how to pattern interrupt your prospect's brain because they're not used to this, then you might want to listen to what I'm about to show you. So you're going to print off some property tax records of these homes you're calling, or print off the expired listings. I don't care. Just do something like this. Okay. And so when you're talking to them, you're actually going to shuffle the papers on the phone where they can hear it. It's just an example of a pattern interrupt because they're hearing something in the background. It's interrupting the pattern in their brain. They have no script for what you're doing, okay? They do have a script for, hi, my name is, I'm with XYZ company, and the reason why I'm calling. See, they already have a script for that. They already know what to do. Their brain tells them, say no, say not interested, okay? They don't have a script for what I'm about to show you. Their brain doesn't know what to do. So it's a pattern interrupt that causes them to be curious enough to engage. Yeah, is this John? Yeah, John, hey, it's Jeremy, Jeremy Miner. I'm holding a copy of your property tax records there on your home in 55 Willow Lane. I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Now, what did my tone sound like when I said my name? It's Jeremy, Jeremy Miner. What did that tone sound like to you? Somebody type in the chat. What did that sound? It's Jeremy, Jeremy Miner.
Yeah, like familiarity.
Oh, it's the familiar tone. See,
Yeah.
in each of these tones I'm about to show you, there are subcategories. I don't want to go in like too in depth here. Like I don't want to get like over something. But this is a familiar tone.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever got a call from somebody like, yeah, it's Amy, Amy Smith, and you're like, oh, hey, how's it going? And you're like, in your mind, you're like, who's Amy Smith? Who's Amy Smith?
Right.
I should know them. And you would never dare do what? Who is this? You would never do it because they sound familiar because of their tone. Has anybody ever had that? So you just keep going with it, hoping and praying that Amy says where you met or something, right? But because they had a familiar tone, they sounded familiar. You, in your mind, I should know this person. I know them somewhere. I'm going to look stupid if I say, who are you and where are you from? Okay, it's a familiar tone. See, once again, do we want to use techniques that work with human behavior or techniques that work against human behavior where we have to fight the brick wall and overcome all these objections? See, I just like selling to be a lot easier. You sell way more. It's less stressful. You just don't have a lot of stress. Not a numbers game. It's a skills game. Okay. Yeah. And then right after do that, sure, how can I help you? Or what's going on? Then I'm going to do this. Then I have to push them away a little bit. Well, and I'm not even sure if it makes sense for us to talk. Now, you're not going to stop there. I'm just analyzing. Now, yeah, and I'm not even sure if it makes sense for us to talk. I represent a group of buyers who are looking to purchase. Yeah, they're looking to purchase a property in your area, kind of around the same price range you guys. I saw you guys had it listed 6 months ago and they took it off. So after I pulled up your listing from a while ago, I called to see if you guys would be opposed to maybe having a conversation around the home. Would you be opposed to talking about that? Now, why would I push away first? Well, and I'm not even sure if it makes sense for us to talk. Why would I do that? Why not just go into my pitch? Because your prospect already has a script for your pitch. They're used to salespeople pitching all the time. See, my first job is to what? Get the prospect to let their guard down. So how do I get them to let their guard down? Well, and I'm not even sure if it makes sense for us to talk. That's a disarming technique. So I'm pushing them away to get them to let their guard down. Pushing them away does not mean we should not talk. You should definitely hang up the phone on me. That is not what I mean. That's too extreme. I have to be more in the middle. I don't know enough information yet. Well, and I'm not even sure if it makes sense for us to talk. I represent a group of buyers who are looking to purchase. I mean, they're looking to purchase kind of a property in your area around the same price you had it listed for 6 months ago. I saw you had it on listed and took it off. But after I looked through your listing, I called to see if you guys would be opposed to having a conversation around that. Would you guys be opposed to that? Now, why would I say, would you be opposed? Why not say, would you be open? What's the difference there? What's the difference between opposed compared to would you be open? What's the number one word your prospect's brain is scripted to say on a cold call? The word no. The word no. It's very hard for a human being to say, yes, I'm opposed. You know what they say? No, I'm not opposed. What do you have in mind? Or what do you mean you have an offer? Well, I'm not sure I have an offer yet. I'd have to know a little bit more details about the property, and I'm right into a conversation. Okay, that right there, there's a lot more to that I have to do right in kind of the middle, depending on what they do and after. But right now, in your space, the agencies we're training on average, there's some that are a little bit lower, but on average, you're getting about a 63% person out of 10 people they talk to, 63% are booking a next appointment. Okay. That's pretty high for your space. In the investor space, it's a little bit higher. It's about 71, 72% with some companies we train.
Wow.
That's an example. Now,
Yeah.
confused tone. Okay. Now, we also have to have a challenging tone. Now, I can't use a challenging tone at the beginning of a conversation. Why? Because I don't have much trust or credibility, right? But as I build that gap from where they currently are to where they want to be, and I have more trust and credibility, I then can ask like what we call NPQ consequence questions. Well, what happens if you don't do anything about, what happens if you don't list this with an agent and actually sell it, and it keeps sitting here for the next 6, 7, 8 months, and you keep getting these low priced offers if they're trying to sell it themselves? See, I'm just tying in whatever the prospect says. Okay. That's a challenging tone. Challenging tone raises their emotion and gets them to defend themselves on why they feel like they need to change. Would that be important for you to get the prospect to defend themselves on why they need to change? See, all selling is change, right? That's all selling is change. It's about how good you are at getting your prospects to view in their mind that by them changing their situation, in your case, that means, listing the property with you, on that sense or whatever, is far less risky for them than them doing nothing at all, staying in the status quo and nothing ever changes, which is more risky. Here's your problem though. Human beings don't like change, even though we say we do. So selling is all about change, yet human beings don't like change, okay? So it's our job to help them overcome the fear of change so they actually get what they want. See, human beings actually, behavioral science shows that we value something that is more familiar to us, even if we don't like it that much, over something that is new, something that is foreign to us. Can I give you an example? How many of you have a friend, a relative, a work colleague that complains about the relationship they're in with their partner a lot to you? They just complain. He said this, she does this, and they just complain all the time. Does anybody have somebody like that? I know everybody does, right? We have a relative or friend or somebody where they always complain. Do you ever wonder why they stay in that relationship even though they don't like it that much? Well, because they're a human and they're afraid of change. They're afraid of the unknown, okay? So in a sales situation, it's the exact same thing. So it's our job to help them overcome that fear of change. Now, I'm going off on tangents. Here's another one. This is the concern tone. Now, this takes a while to really master this. Now, let's say if I'm getting a prospect that is just procrastinating, they're just not moving forward with you, they're not listing, I might lean in and say, can I ask you something, Sally? Sure, go ahead. What's really holding you back from listing the property? What's really holding you back from listing the property so that you can, and you're going to repeat back what they said they wanted. What's really holding you back from listing the property so you can move down to Florida with your grandkids? Now, why would I lower my tone into a soft, concerned tone? What does that do in the prospect's brain? What's really holding you back from moving forward?
Let's the guard down.
Yes. Remember, tonality. Your tone is how the prospect interprets your intention behind every question you ask. So if I show them that I'm concerned for the consequences if they don't do anything, that's a tone that shows empathy. Does empathy build trust with your prospect in you, or build lack of trust? Of course it builds trust. We all know that, right? It raises our status. They feel that we understand their unique situation. Your prospects will always go, in your case, with the agent who they feel understands their unique situation the most. If they feel like you understand their unique situation the most, they feel what? That you can get them the best result. If they feel like they're just like another number, they don't go with you. It's a big difference in that, okay? And then we have a playful tone. Playful tone's very, very important, okay? Let's say that, I don't know, any of you do open houses? You have prospects that walk in, prospect just walks in and says, hey, how you doing? Like they say that to you. Hey, how you doing? What do you guys say if a prospect says, hey, how you doing? What do you say? Hey, yeah, I'm doing good. Just working hard. No, that doesn't really, you just say something like that, right? That doesn't really, it doesn't really hurt you, but it doesn't really help you. See,
Mhm.
everything that we train in the industry, every question, every gesture, it's meant for a psychological purpose to get the prospect to let their guard down and keep it down. Is it easier to sell to prospects that have their guard down compared to prospects that stay surface level with you and they're guarded all the time? What's the difference in your results? You guys already know, right? So if I can continually keep the prospect's guard down, I'm going to win that sale most of the time. Okay. And I'm going to reduce my objections. I'm getting 50 to 70%. And if they do have an objection, it's very easy for me to help them overcome it because their guard has been down the whole time. If their guard's down, can they emotionally open up to you if their guard's up? How many of your prospects emotionally open up to you and tell you the real reason why they're looking to sell that house, buy that house, and they really emotionally open up, but they've been guarded the whole time? None, right?
Yeah.
They just give you vague answers. They're not good. They're going to give you think it over. So if I can use a playful tone, I might say, so, hey, how you doing today? Hey, how you doing today, Jeremy? Oh, just hanging out, trying to stay out of trouble. What about you? Are you getting in trouble over there today? Are you guys getting in trouble out here? Oh, no, we're not getting in trouble, right? That's just a disarming technique. Hey, how you doing today, Jeremy? Oh, just hanging out, being the boring guy. What about you? Oh, I'm sure you're not being boring. See, these are just disarming techniques. Okay. Let's say that they drop their kid drops a banana on the floor, like a banana peel. I'm just making something up now. Instead of you like, oh my gosh, let me clean it up, blah, 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 like just, lowering your status, I might make a little, like, just kind of, I'm just playful. I'm like, what am I going to do with you guys? Should we forgive you this time? I don't know. See, I have to use a playful tone though.
Right.
If I don't use a playful tone, imagine if I didn't use a playful tone. How would this sound? Hey, how you doing today, Jeremy? Oh, just hanging out, being the boring guy. How about you? Whoa, you are really boring and awkward and weird. Just hanging out, being the boring guy. What about you? Oh, I'm sure you're not boring, Jeremy. Let's say if I'm completely bald. I mean, I could make up 50 gazillion things for you guys. And let's say they're in person. Hey, how you doing today, Jeremy? Oh, just been surfing the web looking for better hairspray. What about you guys? Oh, yeah, when my uncle went bald, we used to. See, it doesn't matter. It's the playful tone. The playful tone gets the prospect to let their guard down. Now, most salespeople have never really been trained any of this. And this is basic what I just showed you. Okay. So when we ask questions and we talk, we sound the same the whole time. We sound monotone like this. And then, do you want to go see the next property? Okay, let's go see the next property. And then, what are your thoughts about making an offer on this property? And yeah, I'm not sure if, and you sound just monotone. Now, type in the chat who your favorite actor or actress is. Type in the chat. It's okay if you watch TV. Don't be like, I never watch TV. I'm so cool. I read personal development books 24 hours a day. Just type in the chat who your favorite actor. Okay, Jerry Seinfeld, funny guy. Somebody else. Who's your favorite actor? Okay, yeah, Hoffman, Matthew McConaughey, Ryan Gosling. Okay, so imagine if Jim Carrey, Cuba Gooding, Philip, Jerry, all those guys that you guys just listed, Will Ferrell, imagine if their voice sounded like this the whole movie and they just talked in one straight monotone voice, how far you would actually listen to their movie instead of actually turning the movie off, because you would get very bored and your brain would be unengaged. And the reason why you watch them is because of their voice fluctuation and their facial expressions and their tone and how they verbal pause and verbal pace out statements and questions when they talk. And that's why you stay engaged, because all the other actors and actresses who haven't learned that, that's why they're still waiting tables in Hollywood 20 years later. See, the reason why you stay engaged is because even the little things like their facial expressions are meant to trigger emotional drivers in your brains to keep you engaged the whole time. It's one of the first things they're taught when they go to acting school, how to use your facial expressions to keep an audience engaged. Imagine if you learned even a little bit of that to keep your prospect curious and their guard down the entire time you were talking to them or even cold calling them, what type of results you would get. Now, that's just one little aspect of what we train in EPQ. David?
Gonna hit you with some quick hitters here because this is really cool. This is, again, talking about being tactical. You talk to a lead or client, a prospect, you have a great conversation. and you follow up. I know you don't like the word follow up. I'll ask you about that in a minute, but you
Well,
follow up with
I
them.
know the term, just don't say follow up. Hey, I'm just following up with you on your,
Yes.
just don't
Yes.
use it. You guys can say it. I don't care.
um, but they ghost you. They disappear. They're not responding to your texts, your emails. You have a script for this.
Well, we have scripts for everything.
Yeah, but the script, like just that one's really good. I like the breakdown of the script.
Now, I will tell you, if they ghost you, that is a downstream issue with your selling ability. It's not the prospect. So I want to make sure everybody understands. Okay, look, when I was in sales, at the height of my sales career, I was making multiple 7 figures a year in commissions. I did that in 4 separate industries. Okay, the reason why is because I never blamed the prospect if they didn't buy. You know who I blamed? Myself. And I'm like, what did I not say? What did I not ask? What did I ask that actually triggered that prospect to ghost me, even though they had problems that I could solve? The moment you start blaming your prospects, the moment you start blaming your leads, the moment you start blaming the market is the moment you will go down and you will never go back up. That is not the skills game approach. If Steph Curry has a bad night shooting 3-pointers, is he blaming the arena? Is he blaming the rim? Is he blaming the opposing cheerleaders? They were so loud. Oh, the crowd was mean to me. No, he's out there freaking shooting he's like shooting the next day. He's like, man, my elbow was off. My technique was off. I got to improve today. Imagine if as a salesperson, we were doing the same thing. See, that's what I try to do. I'm like, what do I need to tweak? Like there's something I said, there's something I didn't ask that caused that prospect that had problems that I could solve to run the other way. And so when you start fixing that, guess how many people ghost you? Far, far, far less. They actually start chasing you because they view you differently. They view you as more of the trusted authority, the expert. They don't view you like, oh, it's just another agent trying to get me to list my property with them. Just somebody else trying to sell me something. So they just move you over here and commoditize you and then negotiate you down on your commissions. Would I be right? That could be trouble for you guys. Okay, I'm just being sarcastic. You'll find I'm really sarcastic. Okay, so going back here, let's say that you have a couple of conversations with the prospect, and then well, first of all, can I explain to you one problem that you're having? You have nothing with a prospect unless you have a scheduled next step appointment. Let me repeat that. You have nothing going on with any of your prospects unless you have a scheduled next step appointment and they are doing something that leads toward you getting that listing or them, going with you to purchase a home. You have nothing. If you get to the end of it and they're like, yeah, this sounds really good, just call me back later this week. How many of those people answer? A couple out of 10? Maybe. Do they all just pick up the phone right when you answer? Probably not. Then you go into chase mode, right? Emailing, texting, calling. Who likes to go into chase mode? Oh, yikes. Okay, I don't want to go into chase mode. I want them to come to me. Okay, I don't need to chase them. I'm the one that can solve their problem. I'm not the one that has the problems. They do, right? So here, let's say that after I've left a couple of voicemails, all right, there's a lot more that goes into this, but I'm just going to show you a few examples here, okay? Let's say after they left a couple of you left a couple voicemails, a couple emails, they still have not responded. Can you guys see that okay? They've still have not responded back. Now, how many of you like long emails? Do you like getting long emails from salespeople? Do you even read them? Okay. Then why do you send long emails to your prospects? You don't like reading long emails from salespeople. So why do you think they would read your long emails trying to follow up with them? I want you to think about it for a second. You've got to put yourself in their shoes. They're busy. They got things going on. And then Jeremy sends them a 4-paragraph email after they missed 2 phone calls or 2 appointments. They're not even looking at it. And instantly, where did your status go? Was your status raised or was it lowered? Lowered, salesperson trying to chase me, going the other way. So you got to be much shorter with your emails and more direct. Hey, Sally, I tried to reach you a few times last week and left a few messages, ... but I didn't hear back. You don't need dots here. No dots there, okay? Left you a few, I did try to reach you last week and left a few messages, but I didn't hear back, ... right there, okay? You scroll down one line, don't paragraph it out. They won't read that, and say, where should we go from here? Question mark. And that's it. Hit send. Don't fluff it up like, I really want to work with you. I know I can find you the most perfect, lovely home for your family and your 4 beautiful children. In fact, I love your sundress and your husband is so amazing. Please call me back. That is what they're used to.
Yeah.
That's the script they already know how to interpret that at. Okay. They don't know how to interpret this. I did try to reach you a few times and left a few messages last week, but we didn't hear back. Where should we go from here? Send. Freaking another word. You will be shocked how quickly your prospects email you back. Oh yeah, don't worry. No, we've just been busy. Or, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Like I forgot about it because we had some flat tires, or, oh, we decided to go a different direction, or whatever. Most people will get back to this email. Okay. Mm-hmm. We do this all the time, especially in your industry. Now, let's say they don't get back to this email. Let's say the 30% that don't respond back to this. What do I do with them? Am I going to call them 4 hours later? Well, if you want to look like you're desperate and you don't have anything going on, people don't typically like to buy from desperate people, right? Because they're not experts. How many experts do you know that are desperate? Not many. That's why they're an expert, right? They got lots of clients, okay? You're busy. You don't need them. You got people coming to you all the time wanting to, buy, you get properties and all that kind of stuff. So let's say they don't respond back. I'm going to wait about 5 or 6 days because I don't need them. I'm not the one that has the problems, okay? And then I'm going to say, this is the 4th message. I didn't hear back, ... Did you give up on... And you're going to repeat back what they said they wanted. Did you give up on what? Give me an example, David. Just something a prospect, just somebody out here, a prospect recently told you, here's the reason why we want to sell the house. Just give me an example. I'm going to let you guys do the work. Give me something.
Yeah. Did you give up on moving closer to your family?
Did you give up on selling your home so you could move to Florida by your grandkids, or what actually happened? Mm-hmm. It's hard for the prospect to say, yeah, we gave up on that. It's very hard. And they feel like this is it for them. Like there's no more. Like it's over. You repeat back what they said they wanted and ask them, did you give up on that, or what actually happened? Did you give up on finding the 5-bedroom home so your triplets have more room at night? Whatever it was, I'm just making up whatever they said.
Triplets,
or what actually happened. Okay. Yeah. You'll be shocked how people respond to this. It's hard for them to let go. Did you give up on? Okay. Does that make sense? That would be the 2nd email. Now, the email I showed you before, this is not the first email you send if you leave one voice message. This is like after you've called them 2 or 3 times over 2 or 3 days, you've texted them a couple times, and let's say that you left them 2 voicemails in an email. Then you can send this out, okay? That's just kind of an example. See, now remember, do I want to work with techniques that work with human behavior or work against it? You want to sell a lot more. You want to learn how to use techniques that work with human behavior, not against it. Because the moment you start triggering sales resistance is the moment the guard comes up, and now you're selling against the Great Wall of China. And not many people can win against the Great Wall of China. Very hard to sell. I want to get them to let their guard down and keep the guard down the entire process. Does that help a little bit?
That helps a lot, Jeremy. That helps a lot. We appreciate your breakdown so much on that. That's fascinating. Another one, because we touched on it. When you're following up, you should never say, or you don't like the phrase, I'm just following up, or I'm checking in.
How many of you heard just checking in, just following up, just circling back from salespeople that have tried to sell you something? How many of you?
Everybody.
Okay. So you have a script for that, don't you?
Yeah.
You know what your script is? Oh, it's that salesperson trying to sell me the thing. Following up, circling back, just checking in. You're interpreting that as, oh, I'm just trying to get you to call me back so you can sell me your thing. Would I be right? Is that how you interpret follow up, check in, circling back? See, you're used to that script. Your brain already knows what to do with it. Okay. So instead, I'm just going to relanguage it. Okay. I can call back and say, yeah, is this John? Hey, John, it's Jeremy. Yeah, Jeremy Miner. Yeah, we talked. I think we talked. Gosh, I want to say it's like 4 or 5 months ago about you guys looking at maybe listing your house so you can get closer to your, your older daughter down in Alabama. Did you guys give up on that, or what actually happened? Same thing. Shuffling the papers. Yeah, it's Jeremy Miner. I want to say we talked like, gosh, when was it? Like 5-6 months ago, as you guys were looking at possibly selling the property so you could move to New York because you got the new job. Like, did you guys give up on that, or what actually happened? See, Prospect doesn't have a script for that. They don't know how to reply. Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, it was like you said that, you don't want to lower your status, right? Or you say, I had time to get back to you.
I just had time to get back to you. Yeah. So that's a good point, Dave.
Yeah.
Why would I say I just had time to get back to you? Does that lower my status, or does that raise my status that I might have a lot of clients because maybe I'm really good at what I do? See, a lot of you have been trained like, oh, Mr. Prospect, don't worry. I'm available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call and text me at all hours of the night. And you think that somehow your prospect like, oh, wow, they must have a lot of clients if they're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whew, they must have tons of clients coming in with them. They're always available. Now, that doesn't mean you ignore them either, okay? There's a medium ground, okay? If your prospect, I mean, imagine a salesperson that told you that. Car salesperson, life insurance salesperson. Any salesperson's ever tried to say something, they said, I'm available 24 hours a day, just call me at any time. Do you think, wow, they must be really successful. They must be solving a lot of problems for people. They're available all the time. Is that what you think? Probably not, because experts aren't available all the time. That's why they're so good, because everybody wants them, because they solve problems, right?
Yeah.
Think about these things a little bit. Like when we leave voice messages, our mama taught us, see, mama taught me too. Like you got to say please and thank you. Hey, John, I saw that you responded to the ad on Zillow about, the house on 55 Willow Lane. Can you please call me back when you have time? So you thought that was polite. Can you please call me back when you have time? But what you just did was lower your status, because when you say, please call me back, okay, who's the one who's the one qualifying to who? Are you getting them to qualify to you, or are you qualifying to them by saying, can you please call me back when you have time? When you have time means that you value their time far more than they should value your time. Yeah. Do experts do that? No, they don't need to do that. Hey, saw that you responded to, the property at 555 Willow Lane about, the 6-bedroom. I'll be available here for a little bit today. I'm getting a lot of inquiries on the home, of course, because it was just listed about 15 days ago. If for some reason you don't get me, it's probably better to text me, and then I'll have my assistant text you back when I'm going to be available, possibly later today, maybe tomorrow morning. Talk to you then.
Yeah.
Raising my status or lowering my status. See, these are big differences. Now, we're not going to act like a douche, like we're mean and everything, but we want to raise our status with little comments like that.
Oh man, that makes so much sense. There's so much we can talk about, guys. Just mind-blowing stuff. One of the most impactful hours I can remember. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today, man. I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate your time today. I know how busy you are. Very insightful, valuable conversation as always. Jeremy Lee Miner, and of course the book
If they want more industry specific training, just have them message me there. It won't be me responding to you, but it'll be somebody on my account. You can ask them more about specific training programs we have for your space, and then they'll let you book with one of our account managers to go through all the options.
Perfect.
Get to that level for sure.
No, I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much, Jeremy.